Are you struggling to be good with the Elite controller? Are you incapable of using the Elite controller? Well then, you've come to the right video. Don't worry, because this is the perfect video for you. In just a matter of weeks, you'll master the Elite controller and it will be better than everyone else in the game. But watch out, you have to watch the video in order to get good at the Elite controller. I'm going to be showing you the top 5 tips on how to be better with the Elite controller. Let's do this. At our number 5 tip, we have don't be too overwhelmed with the Elite controller. If you got an Elite controller for your Christmas present or your birthday present, or you just bought it out of the blue of your money, don't be too overwhelmed. It may be a little overwhelming for people to use forward paddles once they use the Elite controller. The best tip I have for you guys is to try on 2 paddles at first. You may be overwhelmed with 4 paddles, and using 2 paddles might get you a little bit more comfortable when you're using the Elite controller. Now, this is just a preference tip. It's not really a useful tip. That's why it's number 5. Some people, like me, I've started using 4 paddles once I got the Elite controller. But for some people, and I know some people can get really confused and really frustrated when using Elite controller with 4 paddles, use 2 paddles. It helps out, and once you get more comfortable, use the other 2 paddles. For instance, you could use the top 2 paddles and then 2 weeks after, switch to the bottom 2. So that is tip number 5 for you guys. Let's get on to tip number 4. Tip number 4 is getting over the learning curve. When I started using the Elite controller, for about a month, there's a huge learning curve that I had to go through. I was just completely frustrated and annoyed, and I got to the point where I was gonna just return the controller. But there is a learning curve, just like with all things new, like a guitar, the Elite controller for instance. When you're playing a new sport, there's a learning curve that you guys have to get through. And this video will make sure you get through the learning curve faster and easier. And how you get through the learning curve is by this. Make sure you notice your small improvements. I cannot stress this enough. Make sure you notice your small improvements. When you first get the Elite controller, you're not going to be a god with it. You're not going to be a master with it. I wasn't even a master with the Elite controller when I first got it, but I noticed my small improvements. For instance, in Fortnite, I was able to do my first 90 with the Elite controller, and that is an accomplishment in itself, but doesn't have to necessarily apply to Fortnite. Say in Call of Duty, you can do a slide jump for the first time with the Elite controller, or in any other game, any tactical advantage that you have using the controller, just make sure you can do it with the Elite controller, and that's a small improvement. That really is a small improvement. And small improvements go a long way in mastering the Elite controller. That is tip number 4. Let's get on to tip number 3. The third tip I'll give to you guys is to stay motivated and stay determined that you're going to get better with the Elite controller. It may be really frustrating, and I've said this multiple times in the video already, but it's going to be frustrating. When getting used to the Elite controller, you're going to have to put a lot of effort to it. You can't just play the Elite controller for 10 minutes and the next day expect to be good with it. No, that's just not how it works. You have to put a lot of effort and time into it. I sound like a coach at practice right now, but it's true. If you work on your craft and you put a lot of effort into it, you're gonna get results. And the Elite controller is your craft, and if you put a lot of work and a lot of effort into it, you're gonna get results quick and not easy. It's not gonna be easy. You're gonna get results quick though. And in about 2 weeks time or a month's time, you're gonna be a master of the Elite controller. So just make sure you put in that effort and work in. Now let's get on to tip number 2. For tip 2, I'm gonna have play more games. Don't just be stuck on 2 or 3 games. Play multiple games. The reason why this is the tip is because not every game can have the paddles to be used the same way. For example, I play Call of Duty and Fortnite, right? I also play GTA, 2K, Rocket League, and I even play Zombies, which is also a good practice for Elite controller. What these games do is they make you use the Elite controller in multiple different ways so that you can get used to the Elite controller just in general. When I play 2K, I also use my paddles, and when I play GTA, I also use my paddles. The only thing I don't use in GTA and 2K though are the trigger stops, because in 2K and GTA you need to hold the RT button to go faster when you run and when you drive. So in some games you don't really have to use the trigger stops, but most of the time games will allow you to use trigger stops. Trigger stops are usually for shooters, so it really wouldn't work in sports games and in open world games. I also use it in Minecraft. Minecraft is really good practice because there's a lot of buttons that you have to use in Minecraft to access the inventory, going to the crafting table, and so much more that I can't even think as of now. But Minecraft in general is really good practice to use the Elite controller on. So the second tip for me would be to play more games. And let's get on to tip number 1. Tip number 1 is going to be time. Yes, time. You're gonna need lots and lots of time to master the Elite controller. Practice makes perfect when using the Elite controller, but in order to have practice, you need time. Time. I cannot stress it enough, man. Time. You need lots of time to practice this. And I know people are busy with their schedules and everything, but this video is going up during quarantine. You're not leaving your house unless you work from home or something, or you have school. You're not gonna be really too busy, and you're most likely going to be playing video games. So why not just use the Elite controller to practice with it, since you have lots of time in your hands right now. Anyways, guys, that's gonna be it for the video. I hope these 5 tips helped you out, and if they don't, just make sure you put down in the comments what you would like to see and more tips, and I'll be posting more of these videos of the Elite controller. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Anyways, it's been a Bella God, and peace.